just in general, how do you look at risk, and maybe it helped just because you grew up when you're 16. I mean, very few people bought their first duplex when they were 16. I am interested in one thing that makes a successful real estate investor, in my opinion, is understanding the market and the strategies like you just talked about, right? Like, how to buy right, and then, rehab them right, and then, turn them into a long-term or flip them. But how do you look at risk? I mean, some people may look at you going, man, you're doing all these houses, you had all these loans. And I know now you probably have more loans than you've had, in a long time. But just in general, how do you look at risk, and maybe it helped just because you grew up when you're 16. I mean, very few people bought their first duplex when they were 16.
Yeah, I mean, at the Watcke dinner table, when I was growing up, we talked about real estate. We talked about LTV. We talked about tenants, and talked about the war stories with my mom, my dad, and my brother. So it's all I remember. Every summer was spent working for my dad on his rental properties. So I'm really comfortable with it. And I know it's sometimes some of the numbers, if you really look at them, are staggering, but I think at the end of the day, it's still a tangible asset, and my leverage is probably portfolio wide, probably not even 70%. So, at the end of the day, like, I don't, name, what my answer, if someone said, what about risk? I'd say, well, what's going to happen? I have to lower rents, like what are we afraid of? We have insurance for damages and fire. What if we can't get a tenant? Well, you lower the rent, so like, I think any fear that someone could come up with, I think I'd have a pretty good counter that it wouldn't, I'm not thinking, I mean, look at Corona. On all my apartments, our collections were no different than any other month for April and May. So not even, we had maybe a couple that had to pay a couple weeks later or partial payments, but as of now, everyone's current, just like any other month last year. So, especially multifamily, it's showing how, I think if you're going to risk on anything, it's multifamily. Like, people need a place to live. If you're not renting it, lower the rent $50. You can go from no calls to lowering the rent $50 to having your phone ring off the hook. So, apartments are inherently easy to fill. So,
dude, that's awesome.
I guess I think there's a lot more risk in development, new development and new construction. But, that's why I wouldn't go all in on that. And that's, I have some of that going right now, but I would not want to be 100% like a merchant builder or, just doing new construction, so new construction is only 10% of what I'm doing now. So
awesome. Well, I love what you just said. I think that eliminates a lot of your fears when you just simply ask, what are we afraid of? And then why are we afraid of that? All right, well, here's the answer to that. What's next that we're afraid
of? What's next?
Right?
Yeah. And don't go crazy on the I mean, leverage is awesome, but I mean, if, even with commercial stuff, 70% LTV is about it, maybe 75%. So, that keeps you honest too. Even if I want to do 100%, there's not really a way to do that. So I think as long as you have, conservative or realistic leverage, I see very little risk on housing. So.
Right. Awesome.